ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salam ala Rasulihil Kareem. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma fakkihna fid din. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair wa bika nasta'in ya azizu ya ghafar. Dear viewers, assalamu alaikum and welcome to Uplift your Salah course. So this is an ongoing course in Ramadan, which we have been doing to concentrate more on our salahs while we are going through a spiritual, retreat and a spiritual training in this month. And, many of you might be watching this video for the first time. So just wanted to let you know that this is a series. And if you would like to watch the previous episodes, because all the episodes are connected to one another, so you can subscribe to Epic channel and you can access the videos over there. Especially if you go to the playlist, you will be able to find which one was the first one, second one and third one. So why are we doing this course? Again, the course is Uplift your Salah, meaning how can we make Salah the action of our hearts in this Ramadan while we are going through a spiritual training too. And the idea that we have taken up to do so, there are many ways to talk about Salah. Salah is the epitome of the worship in Islam, and a lot of knowledge and a lot of talks are available on this topic. So over here we have taken a little bit of a different approach to do that. And what we have done is to uplift your Salah and make it an action of your heart through a study of Fatiha and the last 10 surahs of the Quran. Because number one, Fatiha is the Salah. There is no Salah without Fatiha. So of course we'll have to understand it to understand the Salah. But then the last 10 surahs of the Quran are usually the surahs that people mostly recite in their Salah. And the fact of the matter is the last 10 surahs are very much connected. The message is completely connected. So if you are familiar with the meaning of the last 10 surahs, and by me meaning the familiarity of this means we will go through quickly with them. It's not a detailed explanation because it's in Ramadan and the whole course is 12 days. So we will just go through, minute and little details of, of the surahs, inshallah, not like, the word to word and all of that. So today we have been doing, today we will be doing Surah Al-Kawther, and we have been doing other surahs. We have done Surah Al-Fil, we have done Surah Al-Quraysh, we have done Surah Al-Ma'un, and today we come to Surah Al-Kawther, which is an amazing surah of the Quran, and many people recite Surah Al-Kawther in their salah over and over again. So Surah Al-Kawther, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna a'tainaka kal-Kawthar, and certainly we have given you Al-Kawthar. So what is the meaning of Al-Kawthar? So Kawthar comes from the word kathura, meaning plenty, abundance, something that is plentiful. And we do know from the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Al-Kawthar is going to be a pond that will be given to Prophet Mohammed sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the day of judgment. And the believers will gather around Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to quench their thirst, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will recognize the people of his ummah by the signs of wudu that they will have on their bodies. So this is a very common understanding of the surah that we have. So the amazing scholar Hamiduddin Farahi, he put a more in-depth meaning to Al-Kawthar, and according to him, Al-Kawthar represents Kaaba. How is that? He says, because the meaning, our previous Mufassirun had given the meaning Al-Kawthar that it's plentiful, it's something in abundance, but Al-Kawthar also is that pond that we have talked about. So he has put them together, and he has said Kaaba is the manifestation of the most plentiful, most abundance on this earth. It is the source of all goodness on this earth to all the humanity. So Kaaba, the Baytullah, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the manifestation of Kawthar in this world, and in the next world that Kawthar will be given to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the form of that pond. And even in this surah, as we will study that, in this surah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have given you Al-Kawthar, meaning the Kaaba, the Baytullah in this world will be given to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the surah was being revealed, it has been told to him that it will be given to you, and then in the Akhirah he will be given that pond. Both of them represent the same thing. The source of abundance, the source of so much goodness in this world is Baytullah, and in this world, and in the next world, it will be manifested in the form of a pond that will be given to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And dear viewers, just to understand that, imagine that that each and every human being, whether they are consciously aware of that or they're unconsciously, that's in them. We all have this thirst inside of us that we want to know the Creator. And this is why we see many versions of the religion, different people trying to fulfill this thirst that they have inside of them to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in different ways. Right? But then again, also imagine the same thing and just imagine and look at Kaaba. How we see people going around the Kaaba in the form of tawaf. It's just that, the thirsty people who are thirsty, the humanity who is thirsty to be connected with their Lord. It just is a scene like that, that Kaaba is that fountainhead of, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of the divine, of all goodness, and the people who are thirsty to be connected with that, go around it in the manner that they're thirsty for that. So the thirst is represented in that. Also, do realize that Kaaba is the fountainhead of all the prayers. What do we face when we pray? We face Baytullah, we face the Kaaba, and Kaaba is the fountainhead of all the prayers. And in one of the hadith in Sahih Bukhari, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam have compared our mosques to the channels of water. There is a hadith in Sahih Bukhari where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that what if one of you have this, stream outside of your home and they bathe in that stream 5 times a day? How can there be a dirt remaining on that person? Meaning these channels of water, these not only fulfill our thirst, but they also cleanse and purify us. So if you just imagine and put everything together, Kaaba is like the fountainhead of all the prayers, and all the masajid of the world where we stand and face Kaaba are like the water channels coming out of the Kaaba. Just imagine this imagery that we have. And then, building on that, the hadith explains us that what will be the Kawthar, the pond of Kawthar that will be given to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What will be the description of that? So from the hadith mentioned in different hadith books, we know that it will be like a pond surrounded by palaces made out of hollow pearls, and the floor will be made out of topaz and other materials, and the containers in that will be made out of precious metal, and people will be gathered around it to quench their thirst. Similarly, the Kaaba, if you look at that, the valley of Makkah, if you look at that, the stones of Makkah, the valley of Makkah, and the Kaaba in the center of that, and everything surrounding it gives you the same picture. So this is how Kaaba is Al-Kawthar in this world. And then in that world, what will happen is that Al-Kawthar in the form of a pond will be given to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Kawthar is what? It means a source of something that is abundant, that is plentiful, that is a source of all good. In this world, it is Kaaba, and we face Kaaba when we are praying. We face Baytullah when we are praying, and Baytullah is the fountainhead of all the prayers. And in that world, because towards the end of this time, towards the end of the world, Baytullah will be destroyed. We all know that. But then the manifestation of that in the next world be in the form of a pond, Al-Kawthar, which will be given to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he will quench the thirst of the believers by the water of Al-Kawthar. And similarly, the thirst that the believers have in this world will be quenched by Baytullah. Okay. So now let's understand the surah. So because all these surahs are connected, so we will go over a brief summary of the surahs before that, and then we will understand Surah Al-Kawther in the life of that. So starting from Surah Al-Fil, we understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Baytullah, gave Kaaba to the Quraysh and protected them from the army of Abraha. Now in Surah Al-Quraysh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Quraysh that we have given you this favor of Kaaba, given you this favor of Baytullah, that you have been made guardians of Baytullah. So you have two responsibilities. And what are those two responsibilities? Worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and taking care of the poor and the needy. And then in Surah Al-Ma'un, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Quraysh has completely disregarded this responsibility that was given to them. They were given Kaaba as a favor, and as a favor given to them, they had an obligation relating to that. So they took the favor of Baytullah, but they did not fulfill the obligation. They did not take care of the poor and the needy. They did not worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the contrary, they filled the Kaaba with 360 idols. Why? To maintain their business relationships with other tribes. This is what they did. And in that surah, Surah Al-Ma'un, the character of Abu Lahab, who was the worst enemy of Prophet Mohammed and the mission of Islam, Allah especially talks about him because Abu Lahab was responsible for the treasury of Baytullah that was related to that was associated with Baytullah. For that treasury, Abu Lahab was responsible, and the purpose of the treasury was to feed the poor and the needy and the orphans. But what he did, instead of doing that, he used the money for himself. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to us about in Surah Al-Ma'un that the Quraysh completely disregarded their responsibility, their obligation. And then Allah tells us in this surah, now in Surah Al-Kawthar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to tell us, Inna a'tainaka kal-Kawthar, that Kaaba, Baytullah will be taken away from the Quraysh and will be given to the Prophet Muhammad and Islam till the end of times, till the end of this world. Why? Because Quraysh were the descendants of Ibrahim alayhi salam, but they were not the followers of Ibrahim alayhi salam. They were the descendants, but their responsibility was to follow the millah of Ibrahim, to follow the legacy of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Instead, what they did, they went on the other side. They filled the Kaaba with 360 idols, and instead of taking care of the poor and the needy, they made the worship into a show off to show people that they are doing that so they can gain more business and more popular and become more popular through that. So now over here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then tells us, Inna a'tainaka kal-Kawthar. Inna, indeed, a'tainaka is a past tense which represents at this point when this surah is being revealed. And by the way, the surah is being revealed at the time right before the migration to Medina. And we do know when we go through the seerah of Prophet Muhammad leaving Makkah was not easy for him. Makkah, he loved it dearly, and to leave Makkah was not easy for him. And Makkah, the Kaaba, represented Ibrahim alayhi salam and the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam, which is what? Hanifiyya, to turn away from everything towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we do know the statements of Prophet Muhammad that when he left Makkah to migrate to Medina, he looked back and he said that Makkah, I love you, right? And migration was not an easy thing for them. But the surah over here that is being revealed at that point is giving him the glad tidings that it will be given to him for the rest of or till the end of times. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using the past tense, Inna a'tainaka, meaning that it is a done deal, that it will be given to you, it will be yours, and also this was an announcement for the Quraysh, that from Quraysh this favor will be taken away, because they are not the builders of Kaaba. They were not the builders of Baytullah, but on the contrary, Baytullah was given to them as a favor, and their responsibility was to worship only one God and to take care of the poor and the needy. So Kaaba, dear viewers, Baytullah is the source of all good in this world. It is the center of the millah of Ibrahim, and the best worship in this house is the prayer, which Quraysh completely disregarded. On the contrary, they made it into a show, as we learn from Surah Al-Ma'un, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, woe to the believers, woe to those who neglect their prayers. And why did they neglect their prayers? They were praying it to show off. And we do know the main component of the prayer is intention. If the right intention is not there, then prayer loses its meaning. And this goes for all the worship in Islam. If the intention is not correct, the purpose and the meaning of the ibadah is lost. So the next verse then comes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ. Over here we understand that prayer is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there is no other purpose to it. And over here we also learn that Kaaba is only for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us that to turn Kaaba and Baytullah and Makkah into a place that becomes a tourist attraction. So dear viewers, it has to be said that sadly in our times Baytullah has become something like that. For many people, it has become like a tourist attraction. But the purpose of Baytullah was only to worship one God, was only to worship Him and commit ourselves to Him. But this is what had happened in our times. So فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ, prayer is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that goes with intention. Over here it is what is being talked about over here is intention. Every ibadah, if the intention is not correct, loses its meaning. Okay, and then we come across this dua that Prophet Ibrahim made in the Quran. He says, I have settled some of my descendants in an uncultivated valley near your sacred house, our Lord, that they may establish the prayer. So we know that Millah of Ibrahim, who was the forefathers of the Quraysh, was this. He established his family in Makkah so they can pray, and the Quraysh completely disregarded that. And now Baytullah, Kaaba, will be taken away from them and will be given to Prophet Mohammed sallallahu alaihi wasallam till the end of times. Now, what is the meaning of wanhar? And make sacrifice for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the context of the surah, we understand that this sacrifice was a sacrifice of animals to feed the poor and the needy. And like we have talked about this previously in Surah Al-Quraysh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Quraysh that this favor of Baytullah is given to you, so you do two things: establish the prayer and feed the poor and the needy. So dear viewers, when we are reciting Al-Kawther in our prayers, it tells us what? These are the two responsibilities of Ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam: to pray and to help the poor and the needy. This is deen, right? And then imagine the prayer. Yes, in the prayer we go through our movements and we say the surahs and we say the Fatiha. Yes, of course, we do the wudu, all outer form and aspects of the prayer. But the prayer is established to what? To show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gratefulness, to show Him the shukr that we have for all what He has given to us. So dear viewers, how can it be that a person who establishes the prayer and the person who is grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes stingy when it comes to helping His creation? That cannot happen. If the person is really praying in the right manner, in the right sense, and with the right heart, how can this person who is grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and standing in front of Him, and remember what we talked about in Fatiha, that what Fatiha teaches us, I neither deserve anything, and nor I'm entitled to anything. Everything that I have is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So when a person stands in the prayer with this mindset, oh Allah, I'm so grateful to you, and I'm standing in front of you and I'm so grateful for whatever you have given me, how can this person, when he or she steps out of the prayer and it comes to helping the poor and the needy, this person becomes stingy and shies away? This cannot be true. So Surah Al-Kawther tells us what? The Ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has two responsibilities. And what are these two responsibilities, dear viewers? To establish the prayer, to help the poor and the needy. So let's analyze a little bit. Where does Muslim Ummah stand with this in our times? Right? There are many talks of, how Muslim Ummah has been overpowered, how the condition of the Muslim is so and so. And yes, there are many factors to it. There are many factors to it, especially in the West. We have Islamophobia going on, and all of these things are playing a factor. That is all true. But I will say this, that these are just the symptoms of the real issue. These are the symptoms. Whatever is happening to the Muslim Ummah are the symptoms of the real issue, which is what? We are not sincere in our prayers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we do not fulfill the purpose that the Ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given to spread the dawah, which is the spiritual need of the humanity, and to help the poor and the needy in their physical needs. Dawah, what is dawah? Dawah is the spiritual needs. There are many people in the world who are not in need of food or they're not suffering from hunger and thirst, but their souls are suffering from a spiritual thirst. And the duty of the Ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to convey the message of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to them, to be active in this work of dawah. So this is something that we have given up. When it comes to prayer, like we have talked about this before, there are many people, there are many Muslims, there are more Muslims who do not pray as compared to the Muslims who do pray. Then there are many Muslims who do not pray 5 times a day. So we have given that up. And on the other side, we have given up the other thing, which is the responsibility of the Muslim Ummah to do the work of dawah, that is spreading the message of Islam and to help the poor and the needy. And then we see what is happening to the Muslims all over the world. And yes, like I say, these are many factors to it, but this is the disease is that. Those are all the symptoms. The disease is Muslims are not doing what they are supposed to do as the Ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as the followers of the Millah of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Okay, so Muslims should be taking care of their neighbors. Muslims should be on the front line when it comes to helping the poor and the needy, and this is something that needs to be done. So dear viewers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now telling us that in this surah, that center of immense goodness, which is Baytullah, will be given to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam till the end of time. It will be taken from the Quraysh because they did not fulfill their duty, and this will be where Islam will be established into Makkah. And we do know that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam moved to Medina, and just in few years he came back to Makkah as what? As a conqueror. He took over Makkah, and he cleansed the Kaaba of all the idols that were there and established the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then in the end of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and they will be the ones who will be abtar, meaning they will be the ones whose roots will be cut. So another thing that was going on over there, people of Hijaz did understand, the believers and the non-believers, the people who were following the path of Islam and the people who were following or part of the mushrikun. Both of them knew that their position in that area is related to their connection with Baytullah. And when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated to Medina, the Quraysh of Makkah, they started to spread rumors just like that now he's disconnecting from his tribe, he's moving away from Makkah, he's going to Medina, his roots will be cut off, he will dry up like a branch of the tree that has been cut off from the roots. They were saying that because now he's moving away from Makkah, his tribe has, have severed connections with him, and that's the end of him, and he will be moving to Medina. But this doesn't happen. We know this didn't happen. He came back to Makkah as a conqueror and established Islam in that area. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already said that over here, they will be the ones who will be abtar, they will be the ones whose roots will be cut. Inshallah, dear viewers, that brings us to the conclusion of our program. Wa akhiru da'wana walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. As-salatu was-salam ala rasulihil kareem. And inshallah, I hope to see you guys in our next episode of Uplift Your Salah. Jazakumullahu khairan katira. Assalamu alaikum.
شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم